I can tell you today I've had extensive face-to-face conversations with Dominic Cummings, and I've concluded that in travelling to find the right kind of childcare, at the moment when both he and his wife were about to be incapacitated by coronavirus, and when he had no alternative, I think he followed the instincts of every father and every parent, and I do not mark him down for that. And though there have been many other allegations about what happened when he was in self-isolation and thereafter, some of them palpably false, I believe that in every respect he has acted responsibly and legally and with integrity. I think when you look at the guidance, when you look at the particular childcare needs that Mr Cummings faced at the time, it was reasonable of him to self-isolate, as he did, for 14 days or more with his family where he did. And I think that was sensible and defensible, and I understand it. And as for all the other allegations, again, I just repeat what I've said earlier on. I've looked at them carefully, and I'm content that at all times throughout his period in isolation, actually on both sides of that period, he behaved responsibly and correctly and with a view to defeating the virus and stopping the spread.
But some Conservative MPs are saying, Prime Minister, that this defence that Dominic Cummings behaved responsibly, many of their constituents are angry about that.
Yes, well, let me just say...
As though they were irresponsible in not breaching the guidelines and going somewhere close, perhaps to their family during this lockdown, and they feel insulted by that. So what would you like to say to their constituents? Because that's where the postbag is coming in.
Of course,
their constituents
I understand that. I understand that.
Out at that kind of language.
I understand that, and I think that one of the reasons it's so important, and one of the reasons I was so determined to come and talk to everybody about this, is because I can totally get why people might feel so confused and, as you say, so offended by the idea that it was one thing for people here and another thing for others. But really, having looked at what happened, having looked at his intentions and what he was trying to do for the good of his family, I really think most people will understand what he was doing, and above all, what he did, if you look at the measures that he took, they were designed to stop the spread of the virus. And I think that he, at all times, as I say, behaved responsibly and legally. Though, Ian, I perfectly accept the point that you make, and that's why it's so important. That's why I wanted to come out and make these points this afternoon. The advice makes it absolutely clear that if you have particular childcare issues, then that is a factor that has to be taken into account. And when I look at what actually happened, Dominic Cummings and his family self-isolated for 14 days, and that is what you've got to do. And there was as I said at the outset, there was a risk that they would not have, if they both went under in such a way as to be unable to care for their child, to get to your point, then they might have needed the help of relatives who were living nearby who could come in a socially distanced way. As it happened, that was not necessary for medical reasons I don't want to go into. But that was the risk. And I think it was a real risk. And I think it was absolutely responsible of Dominic Cummings to see the risk to his family, to see the risk to his child, and to take steps to avert it. And that's what he did. So, and that in no way changes the guidance or the advice.